Okay, welcome to the video. Sig Guy here. So this video is going to be all about primers. Okay, I posted a picture a couple weeks ago about a package that I got in the mail, and it had a bunch of these guys in it. So everybody started freaking out. They're like, "Oh, where can I get that?" So I got them through a personal friend of mine. It wasn't a business or something we can purchase those through. And then right away, I started getting messages about people having plenty of these, and they're asking if they can use these in place of these. So that's what this video is going to be all about. I did post on my Facebook after that I was going to do this video, and I did get quite a few comments on that post, as well as personal messages and people saying that it will work perfectly fine. It's nothing that I've done myself. Been reloading for probably almost 10 years now. So if anybody's familiar with my YouTube channel, the reason why I started is because I like to get the data and share it with you guys. I like to get the weights, the measurements, the chrono readings, whatever it may be that I'm testing. That way it's factual information. It's not my opinion or a guess or somebody else said it would work. And that way you guys have the data and you can make the decision yourself on whether it works for you or not. So we're going to make up some ladder loads. We're going to make some ladder loads with the small rifle primers, some 9mm loads. And then we're going to do the same thing with the small pistol primer. And then we're going to bring them out. We're going to shoot them. We're going to chrono them. We're going to see what the difference is. And if there is a difference, we're going to see what that difference is. So with that, let's get started. All right, so a couple things. You can see the video format's different than my typical videos. I got some videos coming out in the future. I just kind of want to try some new things to incorporate in those videos. So I thought this video would be a great one to start with. I got to set up kind of like a little reloading station, and I want to kind of talk about reloading as well because I get a lot of people asking questions about reloading. Where do I start? What do I get? How do I do it? I have a bunch of videos, a whole series on my YouTube. They're all the way at the very bottom. They're actually the first videos I ever did. And that's how I got into the whole SIG guy thing. I was Stomp 603 actually back then. But if you want, go watch those videos. The equipment's changed, but the process that you do it that's not changed. It won't change. It's going to be done like that forever. So check out those videos if you want to know how to get into reloading and what to expect. So what we're going to do is we're going to do ladder loads. Ladder loads, instead of pumping them out automated on a press here, we're going to do each one by hand individually, so that way we know have the exact same amount of powder, the bullets seated the same depth, everything is the same from round to round. That way when we go to test it, if there's any differences, we're going to know it's because of what we're using rather than the way it was done. So on my tray here I got 40, actually 39 right now, I got one in my hand, 40 pieces of brass. We're going to do 20 with small pistol, 20 with small rifle. Okay, so I want to go over the reloading press here really quick. This is XL650. This is a progressive press. Basically, it's got 5 stations. And what happens once all these stations are filled, every pull of the handle is going to produce a completed cartridge, round. So on my first station here, I got where all my brass goes. I got 5 tubes here. I usually do 100 round batches because there's 100 primers in a box. So I'll put 20 in each of these tubes. When I pull the handle, it's going to drop a piece of brass onto this plate here. This plate's a turret. It goes around in a circle. The first station is going to expand the case to allow me to put the bullet in a lot easier. And then it's going to go over to the next station. That station has a pin that comes in through the bottom, which is going to seat the primer. When I push the handle forward, it's going to put the primer right into the bottom of the case here. And then when I pull it up, it's going to dump the powder into the case. I have my powder measurer up here, and today we're going to use 4.2 grains of tight group. And then it's going to index over to the next spot. This is basically just a safety station, this spot here, and that buzzer you hear is letting me know that there's either no powder in that case or too much powder, okay? Because no powder can create a squib round where the primer detonates and it pushes the bullet into the barrel, but not enough to get it out of the barrel. Or if it's overcharged, everybody knows what happens, your pistol could go boom. So very important that you don't bypass something like this. A lot of people don't use this because they got a different die in there in its place. You pump these things out so fast, to me it's worth its weight in gold. So it's going to index over to the next station. This is where we're going to seat our bullet. I'm going to put a bullet on top of here. It's going to go up into this die here, and it's going to press that bullet down into the case. And then it's going to go over to our final station here where it's going to go up into another die, and that's called a factory crimp die. That's going to close up the case that we expanded in the first step. back to its factory specifications. That way it chambers nice and properly. So that's the progressive press, and that's how it works. As far as the primers themselves, we have small rifle and small pistol. They basically look identical. The only difference is, and I don't know if I can see this on camera, but the inside portion, this one here is red, which indicates small pistol primer. And on our other one, it is green, which indicates small rifle primer. So that way you can't visually mix them up if you got them, you spill them or whatever. So let's get our brass into our tubes here. I'm going to use this to seat all my primers rather than do them by hand. And then we'll charge each one by hand with my automated scale here. And then we'll put them back on here, or we can even do it in here, the turret press. Seat the bullets, put the factory crimp back on it, and then we'll go out and test them. All right, so I have my brass loaded up in my tube here. So on your primers, you dump 100 of them onto a tray like this. And it's got these grooves in there. So what happens is they're not all orientated the same way. Some are up, some are down, some are on their sides. So when you shake these side to side like this on this special tray, it automatically makes them go all in the same direction. Okay. So then you'd put the cover on it, flip it over. Now we can see all the bottoms. And then when you would use a special tool, a tube like this, we'd pick up all 20 of them. 100 if you're doing 100 rounds, obviously. So this will feed these all into this tube. Okay. And then we turn the tube upside down, and then we put this on the press. I don't know if you can see this or not. There's a tube that goes down into the press itself. We'll pull that little cotter pin. You're going to hear them all drop down inside. So that just loaded the press up with the primers. And then what we'll do is we'll rotate our tube here to feed our brass. We're going to get a piece of brass in there. We'll expand it. And then right now it's in the primer station. My primers aren't there yet though. Now they are. And after we do this, I'll do a close-up so you can see what's going on. So push the handle forward. That seats the primer. I'm not going to go any further because if I pull the handle again, it's going to charge the case, but we want to charge the cases by hand. So we just expand the next one, seat the primer, or remove it, expand the next one, seat the primer. We'll just do that to all 20. And then I'll show you the primer station here real quick as well. All right, so here's the view of our turret. Got two pieces of brass. This one's waiting to be expanded. This one's already been expanded. Those are our dies up top that they get jammed into. And then if we remove this piece of brass here, you can see our primer waiting to be installed. So when I push my handle forward, you can see that primer, how that pin pushes it up into the case. Okay. So we'll take our empty primer, our case, and we'll push our handle forward. Then we'll remove our case, and there's our primer. And then when we index it to the next spot, see how there's another primer already waiting there. Okay, so now we're going to charge each case with 4.2 grains of tight group. This is actually my favorite powder. It's a flake powder versus a stick or a ball powder. It meters very well. It's one of the reasons why I like it, through a powder dispenser, okay? Couple different dispensers, and every topic can be argued, especially in the reloading community. So this is my theory on these two different types. When I'm doing ladder loads and I need something right on the gnat's ass exact, I'm going to use this one here. Reason being, I fill my hopper up with powder, and then it just keeps dispensing it until on the scale it reads whatever amount I tell it to drop. This type on here, although extremely accurate as well, I'm not saying that this is not accurate. This is kind of a gravity style, and my theory is the more powder I have in my hopper up here, the more weight is pushing down on the powder. And there's a chamber in here that fills up with powder, and that's what you make the adjustment to make that chamber bigger or smaller, and that's how much powder it's going to drop. So the more weight I have pushing down on that, to me logically it makes sense that it could pack more powder in there, versus if this hopper was barely filled up, there's less weight, less force pushing that powder into the chamber, compacting it less, dropping less when you charge the case. So as far as consistency, when I'm doing ladder loads and I'm really into testing, this is the way I'm going to do it, because this is eliminating that theory altogether, whether it's right or wrong. Okay, so on here I'm going to hit calibrate 0. It's going to zero everything out, and then I'm going to put 4.2 grains. I'm going to hit enter. It's going to dispense 4.2 grains. When it gets close, it's going to start trickling until it reaches exactly 4.2 grains. I'm going to hit auto repeat, so when I put the tray back on, it's going to do it again automatically. So I would take my case, take my funnel, put my funnel over the case, drop that in there. Now I have 4.2 grains of tight group charged in this case. So what I'll do now is I'll set this up. I'll put the camera in my hand and I'll show you what's going on over here. So if this is the style you decide that you want and it works for you, then you'll know how it works. All right, so we'll show you how this works here. We're going to hit calibrate. You only have to do that in the beginning, and this one actually has a heated plate as well, a scale. You got to wait a couple minutes before you start to use it. That makes everything more exact as well. It's all about consistency when reloading. So I'm going to add, because if it's cold day and your scale's cold versus a hot day, it's going to throw it off. If it's the same temperature, which they predetermined to be whatever temperature it is, everything's going to be more consistent. So 4.2 grains, enter. I'll hit auto repeat. So we just dropped 4.2 grains. I'll show you one more time. I'll take this off. We'll just put it in the hopper here. As soon as I put my tray back down, it's going to start dispensing. Then it starts trickling. 4.2 grains. And then we just dump that right into our case. I did mark these rifle pistols so we don't get them mixed up. This is the funnel you use. You just kind of put it over the case and then drop the powder in there. All right, so now that we have each case charged, what I like to do is visually check to make sure that the level is proper. What I mean by that is because we don't have the safety station when this buzzes. If it's overcharged or undercharged, we got to physically look in each case. So they're going to look different heights just because of the way the powder's in there. But what we're looking at is whether the case is almost empty or all the way full. If it's double charged, it's going to be almost all the way full, because you can see right now they're about half full. And if it's undercharged, there's going to be no powder in it. So we're going to look to make sure each one of them is about half full really quick, because once we seat our bullet, we're going to have no way of knowing if it's undercharged or overcharged. You can't be too careful reloading, okay? All right, so there you go. They all look good and everything. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each one of those and I'm going to put it in the station here. I was going to use the turret, but I haven't seated bullets with this one in quite a while. I don't know what the depth is set on this. This one I just used the other day, so I know exactly what I want. So we're going to put each case here. We're going to seat a bullet, and then it's going to rotate over to the next station, and it's going to put a factory crimp back on it. And then what we'll do is once we get these all done, we'll go to the range, we'll shoot them, we'll chrono them, and we'll see what the results are. All right, so we have our cases all charged and everything. We're going to seat the bullet in this next step, 4.2 grains of tight group. We're going to put it in our station here, and then we're going to use our jacketed flat point bullets. We'll set it right on the case here. You can see how nicely that sits right up on there because we have that flare on the case from the first step. That's allowing that bullet to partially go inside, okay? Rather than no flare, what's going to happen is if you jam that bullet into a case that's not flared out, it's going to remove some of the material on the outside of your bullet, whether it's plating or jacketing or coating. That's going to decrease the consistency because the mass is going to be different on the bullet, for one, and then it's going to put a gouge in the side of your bullet, and then that's going to probably affect the way it chambers and everything. When I used coated bullets, that was one of the problems I was running into. So we're going to seat the bullet here on this step, and then on this next step here, it's going to roll that case lip back in nice and snug against our bullet. Okay. And there you have it. That's a nice completed round there. It's nice and smooth here where we rolled that put that crimp back on it. So after I do all these here, we'll drop these all in the case gauge, make sure they all chamber properly, and then we'll go do some testing. Okay, so we've seated all of our bullets. I've actually marked the rifle ones as well with a Sharpie, so that way you don't accidentally get these mixed up. So this is called a case gauge right here. It's basically the same exact dimensions as the inside chamber in your barrel. It's obviously caliber specific, so this one's for 9mm. So all you do is you take your bullet and you just drop it in like that. If it drops in and it's nice and flush, then we know we're gonna have no problems chambering that round. So it's also a good time to check the orientation of each one of your primers. One didn't get accidentally put in upside down, and it is actually seated all the way. So it's kind of a bunch of different birds with one stone in this process here. So I'll finish these up right here, and then we'll head over to the range and we'll start doing some testing. All right, so we're out at the range. I got the chrono all set up. It's a gorgeous day out. It's a little bit windy. I think every single time I come out here to make a video, it's got to be super windy. So I do have a little sock on the microphone. Hopefully that cuts down on the wind for you guys. I have our rounds all loaded up in these two magazines, the black mark for the rifle primers and the no mark for the small pistol primers. And then today we're going to be shooting the Born Again P250. All right, so we'll make sure we're clear first. Physically and visually check, make sure there's no round in the chamber, no magazine, breech face, look away. Same thing again, we're free and clear. So Armory Craft did come out with their P250 adjustable trigger, which we got in there today. And I tell you what, much more enjoyable to shoot. That mile-long pre-travel has been removed. It's got a little bit, it's got to be there for our reset. Still has the mile-long trigger pull. We can't really do much about that. But as far as the pre-travel, it's almost all completely eliminated. And you can tighten that up more and remove more of it, but I don't want to be on that hairy edge to where it might not reset. And then the P320 and the P250 stuff's all interchangeable. Everybody knows that. So we got a grip module off one of my other 320s. That's all pimped out. We got the Armory Craft mag well, the sport takedown lever, and then our extended mag release. It's got the weight inside there. All this stuff's available on my website as well, sigguy.com. So what we're going to do is, like our scale for our powder drop, having it warmed up makes everything more consistent. We're going to do the same thing with the pistol. I'm going to run a couple magazines through it, get it all warmed up, the barrel warmed up, the slide warmed up, before we start shooting through the chrono. So let me do that real quick, and then we'll put the camera on the chrono and we'll run the first mag, probably 10 of them, get some numbers, and then we'll switch over to the rifle, and then we'll go back to the small pistol primer, and then we'll go back to the rifle and kind of see if the consistency follows with the mag changes. So let me get this all warmed up and we'll start doing some testing. All right, here we go. 10 rounds small pistol primer. All right, so that was 10 rounds. Make sure we're safe and clear here. We'll go over the numbers. Let's see. So the fastest was 1098, slowest was 1060. Our average is 1081. So we'll take that 1081 and we'll compare it to our rifle primers. So we'll change strings right there, and then we'll load up the other magazine and shoot 10 rifle primer. Same thing, 10 shots, 10 rifle primer. I had an error there on that one. All right, so for our high, we had 1125. Our low was 1010, so that's quite a bigger spread than the other ones. Average was 1096, so the other one was what, 1081? So not much difference at all as far as they work fine. That one gave an error on the chrono, but that wasn't the rifle primer or anything to do with that. It was just the chrono not reading it correctly. So let's go back to 10 of the pistol, then 10 of the rifle, and then we'll wrap this up. All right, 10, I think I said that backwards. 10 pistol, then 10 rifle. Here we go. Change mags here, change strings. This is the rifle primers. So our high was 1118, 1064, average 1099 again for our small pistol. Before it was 1081. High for the rifle was 1124 or 29, 1078, average 1101. So D1. Not really much of a difference, nothing to complain about anyway, so let's get this wrapped up. All right, so there you go. I'm pretty satisfied with those results. They went bang every single time. The chrono data looked pretty good. The only question I was having in my mind through this whole process was, are the cups thicker on the rifle primers than the pistol primers? People that reload know, like Winchester versus CCI. CCIs are a lot thicker. Sometimes you have failure to ignite. And that wasn't the case here, so they all worked perfectly flawless. They went bang every single time. I would have no problems loading up. If all I had was small rifle primer, I'd have no problems loading those up into my small pistol loads for recreational purposes, at the range, competition, practicing, whatever the case may be. I would not do something like this for EDC, CC, or home defense. You don't want to use reloads in those situations anyway, factory loads only. So I'm glad I did this video, because now I know for sure if I get in a jam. I was lucky to get those small pistol primers lately, but in a jam I have plenty of small rifle primers where I can load those up and come out here and still practice. So I hope this video has answered some questions and has been very helpful. If you have any other video that you want to see or topics, please just send me a message and I'll see if something I can take care of for you. Also, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, there should be a subscribe button right down here in the corner. If you could smash that baby, I'd really appreciate it. So Patriots are getting ready to play here very shortly, so we got to wrap this up. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Thank you for watching and have a good day.